guys, so we're trying the note card method again today. I don't think that was too terrible last time. We'll see. So what I wanted to talk about this week is the fact that a lot of writers, myself included, tend to worry that they can't legitimately call themselves writers if they are not actively sitting down every single day, putting their butt in chair and getting words on paper. We all go through seasons of life where writing just isn't happening. Life happens. Sometimes life happens a lot. Sometimes, sadly, people die. Sometimes we get sick. Sometimes we have to grieve. Sometimes we go through depressive episodes. Maybe you just had a baby. Maybe you just got married, or maybe you're planning a wedding. Maybe some big exciting thing happened and you just are, maybe you just got engaged, or you're getting to go on a big trip somewhere that you've always wanted to go, and so that's all you can think about. Maybe you just found out you're pregnant. Maybe you're taking care of an elderly parent or somebody who's ill, and you're having to be their primary caretaker, or you've got small children and they're using up all your energy. Maybe you've got finals or a big paper to write for school or something, and you just are too overwhelmed by life to worry about writing right now. The main question is, have you written? I'll be blunt, if you're one of those people who just always has excuses, who's never actually written anything, you just talk about writing a lot and you read about writing a lot, but you've never actually written or finished anything, then I think you probably qualify as a wannabe. You need to actually write at some point to call yourself a writer. But that doesn't mean you have to write all the time, or that you're not a writer. If you have written, if you have a history of writing and you know that it's in you, that you have the ability to do it and to finish, and you have that drive to keep writing, and deep down that you're going to get back on the horse eventually. When things settle down, you're going to get back in that chair and start putting words down again. You're telling yourself stories in your head. Your characters are still talking to you, or maybe they're not. Maybe they're quiet right now, and that worries you a little bit. That happens too. Sometimes you get creatively depleted and you need to take time off to just fill the well. Sometimes you're just burned out and your muse isn't talking to you, your characters aren't talking to you, you have no idea what's going to happen in your story, you're blocked, and you just need to take time when that happens. Just relax, cut yourself some slack, and spend some time reading, watching TV, going to movies, go outside, enjoy some nature, look at some art, fill that creative well, and all of these things will contribute to your writing. Maybe study a subject that you've always wanted to know about. Start researching something, and maybe that will start to jog ideas and, at least stick in the back of your subconscious and contribute later on to your, future stories. Writing isn't always putting words on paper. Sometimes it's taking things in, filling that well, and recharging your creative batteries. That's also part of writing, and it's necessary. Sometimes it's just setting aside time to just sit and think and just let your imagination wander and just stare out the window and daydream. And in our society, people tend to frown on that because it looks like idleness, but if you're a creative person, that's a necessary part of the process. You need to make time to do that. That's something that I've been trying to make time for. I'm even having to write it on my schedule, and putting it on my to-do list and my bullet journal. Sit and think with the checkbox by it, so I can check that off after I've done it, and then I actually feel like I've done something I'm supposed to do. And sometimes writing means that you're thinking about what you're going to write while you're doing other things. Maybe you're mowing the lawn, or maybe you're stuck in traffic, or maybe you're picking up after the kids, or walking the dog, or cooking dinner, doing dishes, doing laundry. Maybe you're If you have a job, maybe you've got to do something really tedious like making a million copies or filing or whatever. Use that time to think about your book. And as I said in my last video, that, if you do that, when you do have time to write, finally, that's going to that's going to make it a lot easier to make the best use of the time that you have and get going and not have to sit there and stare at the blank page for, half an hour before you know what to write next. Like I said, if you're constantly creating stories in your head and you know deep down that at some point you're going to sit down and write those stories, you have that drive, you have that desire, just relax. You're still a writer. You can still legitimately call yourself a writer, and you just have to cut yourself some slack. Look back through these videos and maybe you'll find where I discuss the specific problem that you're having, and you'll find some ideas for getting over that so you can get back in the saddle sooner rather than later. I know I'm just coming off a long dry spell. As I said back in my first video, I hadn't written for months, and life was just a little hectic. I didn't have a major excuse. There was nothing big going on. It was just, a bunch of little things piling up to overwhelming. But the thing is, if you are a writer, especially if you want to be a professional writer and make a living at this someday, you do have to get to a point where you figure out how you're going to get your butt in the chair and show up and do it every day. Like I said, there are seasons where that's just not possible, and that's fine. Relax, but you still have to get to a point where you've got the discipline where you make time for it, and you just have to show up and do it a little bit every day. I started working on a short story last week. I mentioned a couple videos ago that I think I'm going to do a Kickstarter, and I wanted to write a short story set in the Restless Spirits universe to help publicize that. So I've been working on that, just, a few hundred words a day. At most, I think I've written about 800 words. But I've been trying to do a little bit every day. This week wasn't a very good week. I just had focus issues, just kind of some minor health problems. Not really health problems, just stuff going on that just was making it really hard for me to focus. So there were a couple of days this week that I wasn't able to write, but most days I've been able to get, around 500 words, and it's already added up to over 4,000 words. So, and I've got 3 scenes done, and the story's starting to shape up, and I'm starting to build momentum and know where it's going. So, hopefully in another couple of weeks I'm going to have the story finished, and it'll be about ready to edit and launch. So, that just shows you how fast it builds up. You feel like you're not doing very much if you just do a few hundred words a day, but it adds up. So, just cut yourself some slack and just do what you can when you can, and don't worry about it.